All right, as a few more people file in, I want to take the chance to formally welcome everyone to today's conversation, From Campus to Career and Beyond, how one university, University of Wisconsin Green Bay, uses mentorship to support social mobility and career readiness for first-generation students. To get us started, my name is Eric Schuler. I serve as a Partnership Development Director here at Mentor Collective, working with our university partners like UW Green Bay to support their student success and mentorship initiatives and ensuring that they are seeing the outcomes that they want to see out of their mentorship initiative on campus. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our esteemed colleagues and guests from the University of Wisconsin Green Bay to introduce themselves. Dr. Krim, we'll lead it off with you.
Great, thank you very much. So my name is Dr. Dawn Krim, and I serve as the Vice Chancellor for Advancement, Community Engagement, and Inclusivity. I also serve as the Foundation President here for the University of Wisconsin Green Bay.
And I'm Catherine Martin. I'm the Student and Community Engagement Coordinator within the Coffran School of Business at UW Green Bay.
Thank you both so much for joining us this afternoon to share more about your story and the impact of mentorship on campus. Before we get to today's conversation, there are a few housekeeping notes that I do want to cover. First, we are in a Zoom webinar, so all participants will be muted and cameras off upon entry. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box. We'll do our best to respond to them throughout. I'll also make sure we leave time for Q&A at the end. The webinar will be shared with everyone who has signed up and attended today. So you will receive a copy of both the recording as well as any notes that have been asked along the way. And we do encourage you to engage throughout if you do have any of those questions. Our discussion today is going to center around how connections and specifically formalized and scalable mentorship and how it's a key contributor to student success of the student sense of belonging, resource utilization, and retention at UW Green Bay. We'll discuss research about these topics that build these connections, and then allow our speakers, Dr. Krim and Catherine, to showcase how they've used the partnership with Mentor Collective, both the platform connecting students and alumni together, as well as working with the services at Mentor Collective to scale their mentorship initiative. We'll learn what UW Green Bay has been able to accomplish with the data that they've gained access to and the impact that they're looking forward to making in the years to come. Of course, there'll be ample time to ask questions, so I encourage you to hold on to them and ask them throughout our discussion and at the end. To get us started, when we look at the relationship between college education and careers, we encounter what I like to call the Great Divide. There's a gap between students' expectations of employability and employers' perceptions of recent graduates' career readiness. Research from the University Innovation Alliance shows that while 85% of freshmen cite getting a job as their top priority for attending college, while only 10% of business leaders believe that schools are effectively preparing students for the workforce. I think you'll agree that that's a pretty staggering difference in percentages. The gap between student and employer perceptions reflect a broader landscape where students, administrators, employers, and policymakers alike are questioning the role of higher education in our society and our economy. Furthermore, according to a recent Titan report, as many as 60% of students could be unaware of the resources and services that are available to them at their university. These challenges contribute to the heightened pressure and stress that students face today, leading many of them to doubt themselves and their ability to succeed in higher education. On the left-hand side of this page, you'll see that there's different types of career services and programs that universities offer and that they have implemented over the years, each with varying degrees of success. Colleges and universities invest significant time and dollars into these efforts, but as we discussed earlier, students often remain unaware of the resources that are available to them. What we found with our partners is that mentors provide a critical missing piece of the puzzle. By building relationships, they can uncover early insights, address student concerns proactively, and connect students to the right resources at the right time, helping to bring the puzzle pieces together to help them succeed to and through college. But mentors do more than just piece the puzzle together. They really do become a crucial link in the feedback loop, giving universities the ability to drive student success innovation at scale. As we dive into today's conversation, I do want to share a little bit about how Mentor Collective approaches mentorship on campus. We work with our school partners to talk about their program design and what they're looking to gain out of the strategy and the goals on campus. Then from there, work with them to recruit and train mentors, engage mentees early in the process so they see the benefits of how this relationship can serve them through their academic journey. Engage students by having them complete a matching survey that takes into account both their affinity and their experiences, so that they're then matched with a relevant peer or alumni mentor. And then they're able to connect through a text relay, leveraging technology and making mentorship easily accessible for students anywhere and anytime. These connections generate insights that come back to the institution to allow them to then intervene on any issues that students might be having, and also to better engage the alumni community. And so all along the way, Mentor Collective is supporting UW Green Bay with insights, ongoing assessment, and looking at the efficacy of this initiative to ensure it is delivering on the outcomes that Green Bay cares about the most. And we'll definitely dive into some of those outcomes here in a little bit. What's important to note is that mentorship can support students all across their student success journey, whether it's as they're coming into the college or university, all the way through when they graduate. Today, we're going to be taking a little bit more of a deeper look into how alumni mentors are able to support students throughout their entire college career, really focusing on both student success and career readiness. First, we're going to take a quick poll. We are touching on our and to you, the audience participating. We'll give that about 10 to 15 more seconds, and then we'll wrap that up and really turn it over to the stars of this show, our partners at University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. All right, Catherine, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to give us a little bit of context and background.
Sure, thank you, Eric. So in the next slide here, what you're going to see is some data about the University of Wisconsin Green Bay and who we are as a university and who our students are. I don't know if it's showing up on your, there we go, now it's went through. Okay, so the University of Wisconsin Green Bay is a regional comprehensive public university. We're one university with 4 campuses across northeastern Wisconsin. So we serve a wide variety of students. Just over half of our students are first generation. Even more than that are transfer students who are coming into our university after having an educational experience somewhere else. Almost a quarter of our students identify as students of color. Also, as a university, we are an access institution, which is something that we're really proud of. We want to welcome any person who wants to learn and wants to achieve their academic goals with us. So that means that all of our students and all of our learners are coming from all sorts of different backgrounds and different experiences. And there's no way that a one-size-fits-all education would ever work, which is why our university has really prioritized relationships and support networks for our students, which I know Dr. Krim will speak on as well.
Yeah, that's a great tie-in. That's a great lead-in. So, Dr. Krim, as a senior leader at the institution, can you tell us a little bit more about why UW Green Bay decided to prioritize mentorship as a part of your overall student success strategy?
And so what I would say is we know it's impactful. It's impactful not only for students, but for the campus as a whole. And for me personally, it's personal. I too am a first-generation college student. I've had mentors and have been a mentor for many years myself. No one does this work alone. So it's not just what you know, it's who you know. And mentoring provides the opportunity to inform the what, and it allows people to connect with the who. So when I was asked to support the project and think about how it can impact campus, it was a no-brainer. I also know that mentorship is an important part of UW Green Bay's student success strategy. It's among those high impact practices that operates alongside academics, and it gives students a fuller, richer experience. So today, I want to really focus on these 4 points about mentoring for student success and why it's important to leverage it. The impactful campus-wide strategy. The program is available all across our campus in all 4 colleges. And doing it that way, it makes it a more equitable campus-wide strategy. Even though it's only in a few particular majors, we continue to keep our eyes toward the future growth opportunities and expanding it, but for now, across all 4 colleges and certain majors. And by it being in all 4 colleges, we are intentionally engaging first-generation students, students from various cultures, students of color, and students with varying abilities. Secondly, it provides a roadmap for the future. Mentoring is important because it provides someone to assist with that pathway from college to career. Students can learn from their mentors' experiences. They can share how they did college, and they can share details about what it was like for them in their first interview experience and what it was like for them at their first job. They can also share important steps they took to move along in their career. For example, I played professional basketball in Munich, Germany. I had a mentor who also was a college basketball player at a different institution who I met at basketball camp, who also played overseas. I had no idea about overseas, didn't even have a passport. She walked me through the passport process, what I might encounter by living overseas. And I'm just going to let you know, I'm not going to tell my age, but it was before the internet, before people were doing email, before social media, and I did not have English television in my apartment there. So that experience was amazing for me, but that mentor really explained what I could anticipate, and I really needed that. And today, I'm still very grateful for that. So the power of mentorship is amazing. Mentorship extends opportunities to engage with one another. That engagement occurs one-on-one with your mentor at campus events, off campus in the workplace, and in the community. So that mentoring also helps you with situational awareness, not just content. Also, professors see students' participation, and they begin to see the student as a go-getter. It signals to others across campus a student's willingness to learn and work with others. Many employers are looking for people, students who can work together. Working with a mentor demonstrates that. Working with a mentor also provides opportunities for students to receive feedback. Feedback on ideas that they may have for something in the classroom or topics they're studying. Students may also have a job off campus, and maybe something happens in the workplace that they're wondering, is this right? A mentor is someone that they can talk to bounce that idea off of or that situation just to get an impartial opinion. And lastly, being mentored increases social capital. The term social capital is about the value of social networks. It's about having the ability to meet and network with individuals that you may not ordinarily encounter, who may be able to impact your career search in a positive way. They may be able to provide favors, like introducing you to heads of companies, CEOs, supervisors. They may know insights about jobs that are coming up. They may not have hit the streets yet. So again, insights. They may connect you with somebody in their network that may have a job opening in their workplace. So you never know. In essence, you are meeting people who may have useful information or innovative ideas about future opportunities. So that's the value of that social capital and that social network. And we know all too often, first generation students don't have people in their circles that may be a part of that network. Students of color, students with varying abilities may not have readily access to those individuals. And so mentoring and social capital can be increased by participating. And so those are just a few areas that I wanted to share, those 4 points that could be impactful. And in my role, alumni relations falls under me. So I'm readily on the lookout for alumni who can serve in this mentoring role for our students.
Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you for setting the foundation for today's conversation and really be able to look at it from a strategy standpoint at the university. Catherine, I want to turn it over to you now, talk a little more about the specifics of the goals of the mentoring project, where it has been and where it's going to continue to go to.
Absolutely. Yeah, so Dr. Krim covered sort of the motivations and the why it's so important. So then to follow that up, these are sort of how we back up how it's been impactful. These are the goals and the outcomes that we're looking at for our program. So one of them that I think has been most exciting at UW Green Bay has been our retention numbers, and we'll get into those specific numbers later. But when we founded this program, we really hoped that it would help with student retention. My sort of tagline that I use all the time to really succinctly describe this program to students is, we're going to match you with someone who is an alumni or a career professional to help you get through college and prepare for your future career. So that getting through college and navigating college is a really important part of it. And then going really closely with that is the sense of belonging. So we know from research that if students feel like they have somebody who they have a connection with, if they feel like they can build relationships at the university and because of the university, then that in turn should help retention as well. So we've got some sense of belonging data from self-assessment scores. That's been really great to see. And then there's this responsiveness to needs. So that comes in with the flags in the Mentor Collective dashboard. So we periodically get a flag from mentors, which is basically an email alert saying that the mentor is raising their hand and saying, there's something that my student, my mentee is dealing with that I don't exactly know how to respond to. Maybe I don't know what resources there are on campus. And then we can turn right around and send them the appropriate resources to bring to their mentee so that we can be responsive in real time to whatever the students are struggling with and help connect them with other resources on campus. And then of course that social mobility too. We've seen a lot of really great stories from our mentees about getting to do job shadowing days with their mentors, or that they're still keeping in touch with their mentor even a year after they're out of this official program. And so it's been really wonderful to see the effect on their career paths and their career trajectories.
Yeah, and Catherine, there's been intentionality behind this initiative over the past few years. Started back in 2020 and has grown ever since then, correct? So you can provide a little more context around the development of this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we first started developing the idea of this program in 2020, and then launched it officially in 2021. We started as a pilot from within the School of Business, figuring, we'll start small, we'll get through the bumps in the road for the first year, and then we'll gradually grow and grow and grow from there. We launched it over the summer right before starting, and within a couple of weeks we had about twice the capacity that we knew we'd be able to handle in-house as far as managing a mentoring program goes. So very quickly onboarded with Mentor Collective when we realized that there was that level of a demand. And then since then, in the years since, we've been gradually adding the other colleges now. There are 4 colleges at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. So we've added some majors from each of those colleges in the preceding years.
Wonderful. Let's dive into some more of the specifics of, the content around the program and stakeholders across campus as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you've probably gathered as you're listening to our comments, the mentors in this program are alumni and regional professionals. They don't have to be an alum of UW Green Bay. We have advisory board members and things like that who also really want to get involved. And then our mentees are first generation undergraduate students. We originally picked that group because we thought that these were the students who had the most to gain from having a mentor. They don't necessarily already have a network of people who have gone through college and know how to navigate that already in their network. So we wanted to add some people to their support network of helping them get through college. So some of the content on here is talking about things that Mentor Collective helps us with as far as training and matching and micro surveys and assessment. And then our stakeholders who we have across the university, our career advisors help out a lot with this program. So within each college, we have a point person. So when a flag comes in for a specific college, say it's a computer science student, I would send it to the career advisor, who's the point person for mentoring project for the computer science program. And then they're able to more readily connect with the resources that they would have in that specific college with the faculty. A lot of times the advisors already know the student too, so that helps to add a little bit of extra context. So as far as stakeholders, we have people across the universities, and then some unofficial stakeholders too. We try to get faculty involved with nominating students, letting them know, hey, if you have first generation students in your classes, please announce it, let them know that this is an opportunity, or if you're meeting with them one-on-one, nudge them in this direction, because having more mentors and more supports never hurts.
So you alluded to it a little bit earlier on in the conversation, but let's dive into a little bit of what has been the impact of mentorship on both retention and career confidence for your participants.
Yeah, so the retention numbers that I said were really exciting earlier. This was one where I think we all did a double take and was like, really? That's the number? So our students who had at least one conversation with a mentor, 90% of them were retained for the following fall. This is from 2022-23 into the fall of 22-23 into the fall of 23. For our undergraduates overall, that number's around 63%, so it's quite a jump. Seeing that when our students are talking with mentors, there's a correlation with them having a much higher retention rate. And I think the one conversation was a really big eye-opening for us too, because we had heard from Mentor Collective that usually 3 conversations is that tipping point where retention really jumps. So being able to see this after even just one conversation with a mentor is both really exciting for us as, program administrators, but also we've then been able to turn it around and tell that to mentors too. Maybe if their student is a little less engaged, or the student is really, really busy and only has time to meet once or twice throughout the school year, we can say, you know what, you're still making a difference. We've seen incredible retention impact from just one conversation. So if you're willing to still sort of be on call and maybe meet with them once or twice or 3 times throughout the year, that's still really impactful engagement.
Speaking of engagement, let's talk a little bit more about the overall participation in the mentoring project cohort over the years.
Yeah, so these are the numbers from 3 years combined. We've had 303 mentees as of last spring. Over that entire 3-year span, the average number of conversations was 5.8. So like I said, sometimes we have mentees and mentors who just have 1 or 2 conversations, and then on the other end, we'll have some who have 27 conversations. Overall, it's about 1,700 conversations over the 3 years. And then I looked up the numbers just before logging into this webinar. We're at 135 mentors this year, and already 200 conversations in the first 2 months that they've been matched.
So that's going to develop that social capital and meaningful connections between your first generation students and those alumni, building those bonds across the generations, which is, it's great to see how even in a short time frame, the first 2 months of this year's initiative, that those conversations are already occurring and taking off.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little more about some of the other impacts that you've seen above and beyond retention as well, Catherine.
Yeah, absolutely. We alluded to this a little bit earlier. So last year, in talking with our Mentor Collective partner, we decided to add in some of the self-assessment surveys that are usually in the peer-to-peer programs, because we are considered a professional program, meaning that it's a lot of it career focused, but we do still have that focus on academic success too. So this data is from last year, and you can see here the incredible improvements on students' average self-assessment score. So a 30% improvement in their self-assessment of their career decision, self-efficacy of being able to seek out career information and researching about different career options, an improvement in academic self-efficacy and help seeking. So feeling more comfortable with, reaching out to the Learning Center and tutoring options and reaching out to faculty when they need help in classes, as well as about a 20% improvement in their sense of belonging score, which I think in turn goes to improve that retention as well. And then there are a couple of quotes here that you can read from the mentors and the mentees, because what it really comes down to is their personal experiences.
Right. We know that quantitative data tells a story, but hearing the qualitative data as well from both parties, the mentors and the mentees, really helps to bring that insight to show this is making a meaningful impact. These relationships are important to both parties. So as we move beyond just looking at some of the data pieces, let's talk a little bit more about some of the insights that you've gathered from both the Partnership Mentor Collective and how you've also taken that to more deeply support students and the work that you do on campus.
Yeah, so sort of the example that I want to use here to answer that question is with our career services approach. So the data that you're seeing on this slide, I believe, is from 2021, so a couple of years ago. And right around that time, we were also going through, as a university, a really big overhaul of our career services office. We had a new director come in and had a lot of fresh ideas, and they were in the works of changing things. So we moved to an embedded career advising model. So now all of our colleges have dedicated staff who are career advisors, who are experts in those specific majors, as well as they've completely restructured how job fairs work to be the job internship and opportunity fair, placing an emphasis on high impact practices too, not just the career that you might be looking for when you're a senior. So this was the data that we got in the year before those major changes happened. And then last year was sort of the pilot year of making all those giant changes. But as they were putting in that work, we shared this with our career services director and the career services team, and we're telling them all about the mentoring project. And this really affirmed to them that what they had been doing before wasn't working, and that all of the effort that they were putting in to make a major change was going to be worth it because it was going to affect these numbers. So you see in the slide that a lot of students weren't using the career services postings and the job website or the attending career fairs. So now I'm really excited to see what those numbers will look like by the end of this year, once we've had a full year and a half where it's the new change, to see how students are interacting with those resources now.
That's really awesome. So let's move on to the conversation and talk a little bit more about fostering that culture of mentorship on campus. This has been a project that's been in the works over the past few years, talking about that evolution and how it has adapted and changed over time.
Yeah, so we can talk a little bit about both how the mentoring project has adapted and changed over time, as well as the university more holistically. So in the past 5 years since I've started here at UW Green Bay, we, as a university, not just in the College of Business, have had a really big focus on relationships. And I don't think that's changed very much from the years before that too. I'll just speak to the time that I'm familiar with here though. So we moved to decentralized professional advising model. So now each of our colleges has academic advising staff, rather than hoping that faculty will be experts on scheduling classes. Also that career advising being embedded, like I had just talked about. And then now our faculty are serving as faculty mentors, so more about the career pathways and certifications that students can get. So that has sort of layered on the different opportunities of relationships and support networks for students. So then I see the mentoring project as another layer of that, another layer of support that we're offering for our students, so they can have multiple different types of mentors and advisors throughout their time here. So we launched the program in the fall of 2021 as a pilot within the School of Business fully intending that we would try it out, we'd be the guinea pigs, and then we wanted it to grow to other colleges. So in fall of 22, we added human biology and education, and then later on added computer science and health information management and technology. Education has since decided that, you know, they have a lot of built-in mentors from their program, so they stepped out and we're looking at what other majors might be more beneficial in future years too. So it's been flexible along the way to understand where can we make the most impact for students and where is that investment going to be really beneficial for students. So yeah, it's all continuing to grow and I'm excited to see where it'll go in the future.
Yeah, that adapting of majors coming in, colleges and schools coming in and out really then correlates to how the numbers have grown over time as well.
Yeah, so we started with that small pilot year of 28. These are the numbers of mentees who were matched. So 103 the following year and then up to 172. And then you can see the retention rates in both of those first 2 years were pretty comparable to the retention rates that I mentioned earlier.
When you first saw these retention rates of the mentee cohort versus the general undergraduate student body at UW Green Bay, how did you process that difference in the persistence and retention rate? And did you have to go back and like double check it a couple of times to make sure that was right?
Yeah, actually, I had run the numbers internally, and then I was really hesitant to share it out with people. Like I must have made a typo. So we actually sent the lists and the spreadsheets of students to our institutional strategy and effectiveness office and the provost's office, and they verified it as well. So now we're really excited to tell it to other people because we've had multiple people look at it. But yeah, it's been definitely great to celebrate.
So as you look at the years of work that have gone into this and the growth that has gone into this, really, what are some of the key takeaways that you want our audience here today to know about the work that you've done, the work about mentorship and its impact overall in higher education as well?
Yeah, so I was thinking of these takeaways of if I was at another university and in my shoes where I was 4 years ago before we started this program, the advice that I would give is find your champions to collaborate with. So as Dr. Krim mentioned earlier, nobody does this work alone. Nobody can run a mentoring program alone. So find the people across the university, no matter what level they're at, whether they're advisors, deans, vice chancellors, whoever you need to be supportive of this to really get the ball rolling and have a connection with students and care about the students, because that's the part that really matters, not whatever their title is. Then I'd also say, don't be afraid to jump in. So planning is great, but then also recognize that nothing is going to be absolutely perfect the first time you try. So be willing to adjust as you go and just recognize that at some point it's time to start it and we're going to learn from there. And then third, I think is something that I'm still learning from this year is to leverage the assessments that you can get from this sort of data to amplify what your students are needing, as well as how they might be interacting with your university.
Awesome. Dr. Krim, from your vantage point, are there any takeaways that you'd like to add to Catherine's as well?
I think when you think about the impact of mentoring, it really gives you as a campus a collective sense of belonging. Catherine talked about that continuum and how relationships have been the core of how we've approached our work with students. And so the more people who are connected to students, the greater their success. And so I think the mentoring project, the way we've undertaken it has really, that's borne out. And again, I think it's also a nice way to connect our students with lifelong mentors by bringing alumni back into the fold and really strongly encouraging them to participate so they too can see how their university is progressing and can continue to reach back over time. So current mentees will begin to do the same thing.
And given your role, Dr. Krim, what have you heard from alumni and community members for that matter about their willingness to step into this work and support the institution?
I have been fortunate that many of our alumni and community members have a warm heart for their time at Green Bay, and they raise their hand to step up time and time again. Some of the things that we're looking at as Catherine talked about our mix of students, we have our average age is 24. We have a high number of students who are commuters and graduates who are commuters. So we also are trying to make that match as well so that we can foster those connections across similar experiences from when they were here on campus. And from the community, they have really supported the work that's happening and the growth, and they too are raising their hands to support the current students. So
That's
thanks for
amazing.
asking.
Yeah, so it's not just an alumni type initiative, but really bringing in the community of Green Bay into this as a whole. That's really great to hear. So kind of wrapping up to today's conversation, we want to make sure that if you have any questions along the way, those have been passed along to us. So please feel free to drop them in a chat if there are any things that you wish to ask us or ask our presenters. But as we have shared today, Mentor Collective has supported UW Green Bay in bringing insights from their mentoring initiative and helping to foster that culture of engagement on campus. And driving that engagement across the alumni to student relationships. So if there are any questions, please do feel free to let us know. As we wrap up, if there's anybody in the audience who would like to learn more about how Mentor Collective can support your institutional goals, we have launched a quick poll for you to let us know if you'd like us to reach out and contact you, talk more about what your institution is doing around student success, whether that be in the peer-to-peer realm, whether that be in the student to alumni realm, so that we can foster those conversations with you and more readily support your institution along the way. And as we wrap up today, if you do have any additional questions, please feel free to visit mentorcollective.org to learn more. I do want to additionally call out again both Catherine and Dr. Krim for being so gracious with their time today to help promote their story, the success that they're finding with student to alumni mentorship at University of Wisconsin at Green Bay, highlighting both the qualitative and quantitative stories that have come out of it, and really helping to expand the reach of social capital at an institution that is clearly invested in the community and ensuring that education is accessible to those throughout Wisconsin. So thank you all for joining us today. Please feel free to drop any questions if you do have them, and we will be sure to hang out for a few more minutes to answer them along the way.